Okay, we're going to get started. All right, thanks everyone. Well, welcome everyone on the Zoom call who's been waiting patiently for us. And welcome to everyone in the room. Thanks for joining us in person. And I think we have a good program for you tonight, as we normally do, so we should have some fun. I have a few things to go over. I'll try to keep it brief so that we can have our guest speaker spend as much time as she needs with us in her presentation. Um, the first thing I wanted to remind everybody about is if you have art at Still Hopes, um, it's going to need to be picked up from 11 a.m. to noon on Saturday, January 31st. So it's a short period of time. We need you to be there promptly and get it because we won't be waiting around afternoon. So please mark that on your calendar if you don't already have it there. And if you have to be out of town or something that day, make sure that you make arrangements with a friend to pick it up for you, and let Kay Fox know that you're going to do that so that she can keep track of it and make sure your painting doesn't go off in the wrong direction. Let's see. Another reminder is the juried show online registration is now open, and it's open through February 19th. The drop off date is Saturday, February 21st. And Kay, you have some volunteer pages set up. Yeah, we need some volunteers to help out with that show. It's our biggest show. So, and don't be afraid if you're a new member, we can use your help too, because we have plenty of people that can help direct you. And we just need the manpower to help us with all the different things that have to happen. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So the juried show is our annual event, and it's held here in this building. We display all of the paintings and photography around the building, and the public can come in and participate by seeing the work, and they can come to the reception if they'd like to as well. Bobby at the back of the room is holding up the poster for this year. So if you have a, a place that you go in for a business or a church or somewhere like that where you think some people will see that sign and be interested in it, please take one with you so that you can have it posted around the community. Doesn't matter if it's in Chapin, it can be Irmo or wherever the part of town you're in. Would welcome lots of people to come. There's also some postcards there to pick up as a reminder for you, or if you want to send it to a friend to invite them to come to the show, pick up a postcard or two to distribute around town. Did I miss anything? Oh, well, yes, we will. We have, yeah, we're going to need food for that program and for the next month's meeting as well as usual. Thank you if you brought food tonight. It was very delicious. We appreciate you, everybody who's contributed. And let's see, the Artist for Africa pickup. That's our postcards that we do for an organization called Artists for Africa. They support the arts in a part of Africa, and I'm forgetting which Kenya. Okay, um, and we do postcard size um, canvases and do paintings. We don't sign the front of them, we sign the back of them, and people come to it's a gala that they have downtown at the Hilton in the uh, over there in the kind of art district area. And you can go there if you have participated by donating some of your paintings. You can go to the event. You don't have to buy a ticket to go. And you can participate in buying paintings if you'd like to, but it's a fun event. And anyway, they're going to pick up our paintings for those of us who are doing them on the 16th of February at this meeting. There's still time to do it if you have any interest in it, you can let me know or let Barbara Tusink know. Many of us are familiar with it. So if you are interested, please speak up. Okay, so also we're still recruiting artists for the public gallery program. If you're new, the public gallery program is something that we do with businesses around the community. And we've had some of the businesses have been doing it for many, many years. Others are brand new. And we need artists to be able to display their work at these different locations. In order to do that, we need a pool of artists so that we can rotate either every month, every 2 months, or 3 months, whatever the arrangement is it's made. So we have to keep bringing people into that program. So it is a way to get your name out there, your art out there, and people do sell their work that way. So it's a nice advantage for everybody, and it's a good way to practice displaying your art as well. We have several workshops coming up, so you need to remember to enroll soon. We have several workshops every year, somewhere around 7 to 8 of them. If you're interested, the 3 upcoming ones are painting with palette knife in vibrant color with an artist named Trish Weeks. That's Thursday, January 29th and February, January 30th. It's a 2-day program from 9 to 4 p.m. You can go online and look at our webpage, and it has all the details of how to register, how much it costs, but do it soon so we know how many people we're expecting. After that, we have a 3-day workshop with Marissa Vogel, who is an artist from Charleston. Is that right? And Marissa is a pretty well-known artist, and she is also going to do a workshop as well as judge our program for the juried show. So that's on February 26th, 27th, and 28th. Lunch is provided at all 3 of these events, so we take care of helping out with that. The basic collage workshop is the 3rd one with Lily Morris, and that's on Friday, March 20th and Saturday, March 21st from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So those registrations are open now. Please, if you're interested, register, and it explains how you make the down payment and when the full payment is due right there online. Okay, any questions before I turn it over? Sure. Yes, it will. So the question was, you're attending your 3rd meeting of the year on February 16th. I'm repeating it for the folks online. Are you eligible for the juried show? And the answer is yes. Okay. Yeah. So Barbara added that if you are going to reach that milestone in February, that we'll have to put all the names into the database. So you'll be eligible in the next morning as soon as possible when we get all that information loaded in. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you sign in on the paper up front to say you were here tonight in person, so that you get credit for attending. Okay. And use your best handwriting. If you do happen to attend a meeting online, we also track that through Zoom, and it records who has attended that way. So if you have that opportunity, you don't have to worry about your attendance. You'll get credit for it. All right, Bobby. Bobby Mann is going to introduce our guest speaker for the evening.
Does anyone have spare chairs at their table? Snug up, people. Here too.
What while we're
That's excuse me.
So I'm interrupting Bobby just for a second. I forgot one item. So every year we do a sponsorship and donation drive for our shows, including the juried show. So there's a sign up sheet on the table. If you are an artist and you would like to contribute to the juried show expenses, you can do that through a sponsorship donation. There's a sign up sheet here, or you can go online and do it online. This is kind of a pledge sheet that we're going to pass around as well. We do that every year. So if you're interested, please sign up and we'll make sure that you get recognition in our program. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bobby Mann, VP, and I'm here to introduce our speaker tonight. And you all probably know who she is, Alicia Leeke. She is the one that did the mural at the shack. And it was the freezing cold morning that thing was. Ugh. Anyway, I was out there, but it was dedicated and it is beautiful. And if you haven't been by there, you should go. Anyway, Alicia is a mural artist and many other things, and we're really grateful to have her. So, warm welcome to Alicia Leeke.
Can y'all hear me on my speaker? I mean, on my microphone? Is it on?
It's on. It might just need to be closer.
All right. I'm used to talking loud if that doesn't work. So, a warm welcome to all of y'all. Thank you so much for coming out. I know it's been a little bit cold this evening. I'm going to try to get my microphone situated here as well. Is that better? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, it has to be like really here. So maybe I'll hook it to my eyeglasses. Anyway, so I want to talk a little bit about myself this evening, and I also want to lead you all through a workshop. So you're going to be bored hearing about me and my art process mostly, but we'll do a little bit of that. And I'm hooked up to this thing because I like to move around and I really can't sit still. I'm going to have some, Bobby's going to hand out some paper to you all. You're going to need, and you'll also need one pencil for this project. They're up here. If I didn't bring enough because I didn't know I was going to have this kind of crowd, then let somebody borrow yours, okay? All right. And I am a native South Carolinian. I've lived here all my life, and we're going to have some fun tonight. So let me get to my first page and let's see that first slide. If you'll change that. Tonight is our conferences, or our meeting is on Reigniting Your Creative Spark. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my project and my process that I did for a project called Under the Microscope. And it was a digital mixed media body of work. And if you look right here, there's 3 different paintings. Those were all done. Those are a combination of photography, microscopy, and digital painting. And so I'm going to tell you all how I did that. And if y'all have any questions during this, just, ask me. So when I was a child, I wanted a terrarium, a rock tumbling kit, and a microscope. But I got the terrarium from a friend of mine in a cereal box, and a geologist friend gave me the rock tumbler, but I never got the microscope that is until I partnered with the University of South Carolina. If you'll next slide. I'm a native South Carolinian, like I said, and I started my artistic careers under Stephen Nevitt at Columbia College. In my sophomore year, I visited Paris, where I vacationed and studied both French and art, and I fell in love with the French Impressionist painters. I'm former director of art, graphics, and photography at the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, where I headed up and looked at lots of slides that kind of piqued my interest for this project. And I knew I wanted to do something with those things under the slides, but I didn't really know what it was that I wanted to do. So we'll talk about that here in a minute later. I'm mainly a self-taught artist, and I went to a lecture just like this one at the Columbia Museum of Art a couple of years ago. A woman named Susan K. Grant of Texas was presenting that night, And that is where this whole idea of mine came into play. I also had a friend of mine, John Powell, a local photographer now living in Asheville. And both of them, I was inspired very much by their artwork. So next slide. Very inspiring, right? Has anybody seen this? Raise your hand. Does anybody know what this is? Tell me what this is. Is my microphone not working? What is it? It's a slide from some groundwater at the lake or the pond. It's not very inspiring. I mean, this is really what it looks like. It just looks like one big tea stain. So view from under the microscope came into play back in 2013. If you'll hit the next slide, please. In a conversation with Wendy Plessinger. I had done a show then on consumerism where I talked about recycling and all of that. And I partnered with another artist at that time out of Clemson. And she had been photographing art on the West Coast, A1A. And I had been working on some things on this coast where I had gone to the Old Mill Antique Mall. Does anybody know where that is? Yep. I photographed a lot of these little figurines that were just sitting there. And I started thinking, this is kind of depressing to see all these things. I'm like, where did they come from? What's their backstory? So when I was talking with Wendy at this art exhibition, she goes, okay, well, you've done consumerism. What's next? And I said, well, I happen to want to do something under a microscope, but I don't know what it is. I know I don't want to do with anything with blood splatter because somebody else had already done that. And well, it was already done and I just didn't want to do that. And then working at DHEC, I got to work with the department that did all the STDs and all that. So I knew I didn't want to do anything with that subject matter. I said, how about something else? And she goes, well, I'll tell you what, I can help you out. She said, I happen to know someone at the USC Marine Biology Department. And I said, okay, that sounds great. And so I decided, let's have a meeting. But before I had to have the meeting, I said, let's do a prototype. So my project goal was to create 2 sets of 18 paintings using phytoplankton as an inspiration and to educate the community about the importance of phytoplankton. So what I did, part of my process was I prepped the slides because this is the technical thing. Do I have any photographers in here? Raise your hand. Y'all are going to ask me this. I can't remember. So I created the slides where I did water sampling, and the slides were photographed with a Nikon Eclipse TS100 inverted microscope with an attached Nikon Infinity 1 digital camera. Most of us don't know or care what that means, but the photographers in here do. But so that means there's a computer with a screen, not this big, kind of like what Ned's got right there. And then over here is a microscope, and on that microscope is a camera. Well, I thought that was the neatest thing since sliced bread. So that's where I got introduced. All right, so the exhibition components were to combine art and science. And the sorry, let's go to the next page. Go to the next page. So the reason I wanted to do this body of work was to talk about the importance of plankton. They are actually our single most important thing on Earth. It's not really making news to this, like a shock factor point of news, but the bottom line is they're the very first thing in the food chain. Does anybody know what that means? Does that mean anything to anybody? They're microscopic organisms. They're very small. The whales eat those, the fish eat those, the crabs eat those, we eat those. If we lose the plankton, we lose part of our food chain, which is part of what's up with climate change and all that, and the planet warming. They produce 50 to 80% of the oxygen that we breathe on Earth. Most people don't know that. They think it's the trees, but plankton have chlorophyll, and that's how we get oxygen from those. They soak up carbon dioxide. They help monitor climate changes and ocean acidification levels. They're viable sources of alternative fuel. All right, next. So when I first started, I said, well, I don't even know what a plankton really looks like. On that, can you go back one slide, please? I'm sorry, the other way. I wanted to point out the hidden world, that is a euglia, and that was my very last class at the University of South Carolina. It's taken directly from the Encyclopedia Britannica, and I did that before we had really mice on our computers. So I'm not going to date myself, but that was my very first computer project. In fact, it ended up getting me the job at a place called Backlight and also at DHEC. And thank you. Next slide. And then now here we are in the modern world where we can take photographs and just have them popped up digitally. So this is wonderful. So getting started, I just Googled it. I mean, I had already seen those back in the day, but these are some of the images. And I want to point out this very first image up here on the left. A lot of you might not be able to see it, but it basically looks like syringes. And what I did with that particular image, I called out to the person and I said, I would like to have permission, please, to use your photograph. I want to do a body of work on that. That was inspiring. And I thought these were just gorgeous photographs. And for those of you can't see, the one on the bottom right up here it looks like just a lot of cells. Say it's 100 cells. Most of these slides up here are gorgeous and have a bunch of cells. Next slide. What I found out to be true in my own sampling is they look nothing like that. So the first slide that y'all saw up here was a tea stain. And then there was some more learning that went all around along with this is phytoplankton means plant, zooplankton meaning zoology, zoo and animal. Winter is when I started my project and the babies hadn't come out, you know, the plants hadn't started blooming, the zooplankton hadn't started breeding. So the first slide up here on the left is just, there's really nothing in it. The right two slides have 2 zooplankton in them. So there was a lot more going on in the spring. And I did water sampling all over the state. I sampled in Darrell Creek in Mount Pleasant, up at the University of South Carolina on a little pond that they had up there. The lake that I live on, Quinine Hill Lake, Congaree Swamp, don't tell anybody, I didn't know. And I got the most unusual thing that I ever found there. I ended up using that one and it looks like a butterfly. Next slide, please. So if y'all can't see, kind of maybe come around a little bit this way. But anyway, this just talks about my process. So there's 3 slides up here on the front. And for those of you who might not be able to see, the very first one is those syringes again. But what I'm talking about here in this is how to create a usable prototype. So the most important thing in doing our artwork is composition and lighting and then color. And that's what I did. So I was using somebody else's photograph because, you know, I'm trying to create a plankton and I didn't know all the people yet. Next slide, please. So then I said, let's add a little bit more composition because that was a little bit boring. And so I added some depth and the interest. And so what I've done here is actually overlaid some computer numbers and that sort of thing. And then the third one, next slide. This is the same sequence. I was actually getting ready to meet with someone at a museum, so I had to have something to show them. And the composition for the second prototype is on the left. I just added green and then added some more color. Next, please. And then these were the 2 final prototypes that I sent. I showed my people. And then next slide. But what I found out about the problem of using somebody else's work, has anybody else ever, I want to see your hands and I want y'all to be honest, and I got to get up here so I can see y'all. Has anybody ever taken a photograph out of a book and drawn it, painted it, copied it? Raise those hands up high. I know you have. All right, thank you. The problem with that sometimes is it's copyrighted. It's not our work. The second problem for me that I had on this project was the lady that I called lives in Victoria, BC. And even though I went to France, my French wasn't that good. Needless to say, she never called me back. And it was a very good thing that I had already had a friend of mine that was setting me up with somebody else. So what I realized is that after the further research that the photographs from Seattle, I say Seattle lab, but Victoria, BC, were not usable because of a language barrier. And my final prototypes then, which I had already shown the museum, were a no-go. Next slide. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. Next. Then I decided, well, I'm up with my mentor, and she said, we've got another student that did this project called Into the Void or Into the Embryo or some kind of thing like that. And she said, you could just take some of these slides and edit them. I said, oh, that's a good idea. Let me take a look at them. So the picture that's up here is one of the University of South Carolina. And I could have started and done those images from scratch. Next slide. But the problem with using other people's works and reference materials is the road looks good until you realize it's filled with a lot of potholes. And I kept meeting them. If I had used the university slides, it would have taken me 10 times longer to do all the photo editing. And I wouldn't have gotten anything that I wanted. And the value of this whole experiment for this is sometimes the low-hanging fruit seems to be the easiest fruit, but it's seldom the path to creating a higher creativity or personal satisfaction. Next slide. So this is a picture of Dr. Richardson and I in the lab looking at some plankton. This was probably our first meeting with the photographer in tow. Next slide. And then the next one is how I went about doing the water sampling. My very first, I'm going out. I think this thing is fading in and out. If I just talk regularly and loud enough, can y'all hear me? Nobody? So this is a picture of the lab kit. Sorry, y'all. Can you turn me down? Can you hear me now? I think it was that microphone. All right. So the last slide that we just had up there was basically a bottle of water. It could, and in fact, I did use bottles just like we have on the table to do some water sampling. And then I went back into the lab and prepared slides just like we would do in biology class. And what you can see up here is a prepared slide. Next one, please. This is me. Next. Just looking through a microscope. That's kind of boring, but y'all wanted to see what it looks like, I'm sure. And this is their computer setup. So this is in the studio. There is one computer on the left, one on the right. And I think both of those are theirs. One of them is hooked up. The one on the right, I think, is hooked up to a microscope with the camera, and the camera is inverted, so it's on the top, facing down. That's what that black thing is on the right. Next, please. Again, so here are some of the organisms that I slide captured. Star rostrum, and my favorite one on the right, his name is escaping me today. So once I started in my spring journey, I started capturing more plankton and more life. So they look like this. I started playing with the filters and adjusting the focus. Next one, please. And then y'all might want to look at these next slides if you can see them. And if not, I'll leave my book up here for y'all to flip through. But it shows my progression of the body of work of this under the microscope. Next, please. So does anybody in here work with thumbnails to start their project? Has anybody ever not done a thumbnail? Raise your hand if you've never used a thumbnail. Oh, y'all are going to get a good workshop. Okay. So the first image I'm showing up here happened to be, well, I was a biology major starting out, and everybody that wants to be a biology major and probably an artist wants to be found. And I surely thought that I had found some stuff, right? I found a lot of what I learned, detritus. It was not real things that I had found. Actually, these three images, these long things are a type probably of cyanobacteria, which is not a zoo or a plant plankton. And my mission was to find some phytoplankton, plant-based. So what I did was just took a basic photograph and then I played with the filters and then I started doing color blocking digitally on my computer in my studio when I got back home. Next, please. I really go to a lot of trouble to work on thumbnails in my practice because I just felt that it wasn't hitting. This shows 4, 5, 6, 7 different directions that I was going on in this process where I was taking the image. These have what's called uglia or something like that. They look like little eggs. And I just was working with different coloring, and I said, well, I'm trying to do some multi-layering where I'm overlaying different things, either maps or flowers. And I just really wasn't feeling it, but it was going a little bit further. Next slide. So then I said, I love Renoir. I love the French Impressionist palette. I love Peter Max. And then I did a sample board, or some people know it as a mood board, and I put all my colors together and I said, well, at least I know this. That interests me and that's where I'm going. Next, please. So I came back to the drawing board. And so this whole project, by the way, has taken me 2 years to get just out of my head before I even figure out how I was going to do it. So the first slide here, again, the black and white tea stain, and then playing with colors, playing with that map thing again. But the last one here is one of the actual finished pieces. Is called Rhizosolenia. And that's when I decided I'm finally hit on where I want to be. I want to do abstract, forget the map, forget that other stuff. Next, please. And then again, same process, tea stain, composition and color. And the last one up here, it looks like a little giraffe or a little Eiffel Tower. And because I had pulled in some of the Impressionist colors from Cézanne and Renoir, I decided that I was going to dedicate this last one to Cézanne. And the little bowl of fruit on the table, there's some like little green Easter egg, limey looking things, and that's kind of a tribute and a tip of a hat to Cézanne for his color inspiration. Next, please. On the left side, again, another tea stain, and on the right side is the Star Restaurant where I've taken and worked on my composition and color. And as you can see in the beginning, how many different images I had, and now as I've moved forward, I've only got 2 images here at the last because the process gelled and it came a lot faster. And so once I had figured out that I wanted to go in this abstract painting route, then the rest of the project only took maybe 6 months to finish painting. So there were 18 pieces in the first. Next slide. And the collection comes together for the first one, which was based mostly on on phytoplankton. Then I decided to do 2 years later a second body of work combining both plant and animal plankton. Next, please. So the key learnings from this, slides versus paintings, it was a taxing taxonomy situation, and a funny thing happened on the way to the lab where the left brain meets the right brain, and I say that laughingly. When I went, so I'm back in my studio, I'm looking at my computer, I've got all my file names over here, I've got all my photographs over here, I'm getting ready to go have the meeting with my mentor to show her this wonderful body of work. And I said, well, what's the long one? Well, let me back up. So I go to the lab, and now we have both the computer, hers and mine, open, and I'm showing her the stuff. And I said, well, what's this long thing on here? And what I'm showing her are the finished painted ones, not next to the ones with the tea stains on them. She goes, I have no idea. Well, I had named them artistically. Like there was one that had a very long strand going through the middle of it, and I'd named that milkshake because the painting looked like a milkshake with a straw in it. And I'm like, realized very fast that no, I have to technically scientifically name these as what they are because nobody on this planet is going to know, and I'm not going to be able to go back and remember. So I had to go back to the drawing board and then rename all my files, and I had to go do the taxonomy or go in and look up their Latin name. Next, please. So this was the goal of this body, was just to educate the scientific community about how art can complement their research and the importance of climate change and really clean water. I don't know if y'all saw that article this week about water deserts coming up. It's always something. Next, please. All right, enough about me, but I've been talking a lot. So does anybody have any questions about this body of work? It kind of went in 3 phases where, and these are the images up here on the wall. So this particular piece has a star restaurant. Each one is dedicated to a singular image with um, an environment painted around it. I call this particular piece Running Man because that's where I feel like we are as a world. And then as the body of work progressed, I believe this one is Astra's Desmus. I could be butchering that, but this was one of the first pieces. This, when this work got selected or finally created, the way that I exhibited it first was at Mitchell Hill Gallery, now Michael Mitchell Gallery, again. And so we showed the first 18 paintings there. We did a stint and show and lecture at Richland Public Library, and then one other place, which is escaping me right now. Then as these works were progressing, they became a little bit more artistic, like as in more not telling such a narrative, but the body of work does tell a narrative. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to need 2 hands. And he's going to flip this over for us. The question that I get asked the most is, how do you get started? Has anybody ever had creative block? Has anybody ever had anybody ask them to do a commission and you were all hyped up about the commission, and then all of a sudden you got that knot in your stomach where you're just like, I can't think, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe you don't know what direction. Maybe it's a pet portrait and you did a pet portrait for that person twice, and now you're working on it a 3rd time and you just kind of lost the love for it. Well, anyway, we're going to work on a series of little fast sketches tonight. Everybody should have a pencil and a sheet of paper in front of you. And if you don't, please raise your hand and we'll get you one. So we're going to reignite your creative spark. What I want you to do is you're going to divide your sheet into 6 sections. Because this is what I get the most questions on this exercise is, does it have to be horizontal or vertical? It could really be either way. But just so y'all see, just divide it into 6 squares. Please do not cheat and look at your friend and see what their line or they're doing. Please do not use a ruler. We are not going to be that technical. But we will need to divide that into 6 sheets, and everyone should have a pencil. And I don't know if anybody in here has ever taken one of my workshops. Has anybody ever taken a workshop from me? Okay, well, I work really fast, and I have high expectations from my students. This is a quick draw. We will be working very fast, okay? Just so you'll know. Next slide. I've tried to set this up too for some of the folks at home. There will be a gray box on some of the preceding or following slides that they'll have a direction for them. And hopefully they can see this at home as well. I want y'all to use your imaginations. Don't cheat and use a phone. You don't need to copy others' work. You're going to divide this into 6 equal sheets. Each box only has 1 image per box. Leave the right half of the sheet blank. This number 3 up here, that's a typo. That's for the next exercise, and I didn't catch that. Everybody in here, y'all just came back from a great vacation. And in each one of these boxes, you're going to draw 1 item that you saw on your trip. Did anybody get back from a vacation recently? Raise your hand. Where did you come from? Where'd you go? So when you're on a cruise, you see what? Other than water, what do you see? You see the ship and the boats. What else did you see? Did you see any animals? Did you see any cards and casino stuff? Yeah. Okay. All right. So it can be a person, a place, or a thing. And so just stay on that one. So what I want y'all to do for these next few minutes, I'm going to be coming around and watching over your shoulder and making sure you're doing this. And then there's going to be a test, okay? So very quickly, you went somewhere. Maybe you just came to this meeting and that was your vacation driving from town right here. I want you to think of 6 things very quickly and draw them out. And if you need an idea, I can give you one. Usually I found that people don't like my ideas if I raise my hand and I tell them. But so it could be a flip-flop in one of the boxes. She was on a boat. Anybody else go anywhere on a trip recently? In the red, where did you go? She went to St. Lucia. Is there anything there we want to see? A lot of things? Okay. A volcano. Eel, squid, ocean. They both saw some water. All right. Press hard down on that paper so I can see what y'all are doing. I got to make sure you're doing it. Do you need some paper? You sure? Here. It'll be fun, I promise. Right, Linda? Oh man, some of y'all are really, I got to walk to the other side. Some of y'all are really fast. Has anybody ever done a quick draw? I know we all want to paint, right? We want to paint, we want to take photographs. We don't want to take the time to draw. Drawing takes time. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. But everybody's doing a good job. Y'all all have A's so far. And I hope these people at home are drawing wherever y'all are, you better be drawing at home. I got special instructions for the people at home on the next one, not yet, not on one of the next slides. Y'all finished? I didn't hear anybody say it. It must be still working. So narrative works tell a story. Okay, so that's what this plankton body of work is. What I'm getting y'all to do now is you are working on your own personal narrative. Hopefully a vacation is something that people really enjoy doing and have fun to travel. We get a lot of inspiration. So like if you go to the Dominican Republic or you go to a lot of the beach places, you see some neat things. You see some really cool boats. You go to Africa, you see some things you've never seen before. And that's where we learn and that's where we get inspired as artists. So everybody by now should have your 6th block completed. Divide it right down the middle. It will be horizontal. I would suggest horizontal on this because if you do vertical, you might not be happy later. But we're only going to draw on the left side. We're going to draw a line right down the middle and use the left-hand side of our sheet of paper because then we can serve the right-hand side of paper for another piece of, for the next project. All right. So that means you're going to leave the right-hand side of this sheet blank for those people at home. All right, next slide, please. Okay, if y'all haven't forgotten what we just did, you flip and look over to that other sheet and pick one of your favorite image, or it might be the most complete, it might be your favorite, it might be the best one. So you just did 6 images. Pick one of your favorites. On the left-hand side of the page, you're going to remember you just took an amazing trip, and you're going to redraw your most favorite from the 6 on the left side of your sheet. This time you're going to add some contrast. That would be known as light and dark or a value study. So we're going to work through our thumbnail a little bit further, and I would like for y'all to go and work on that now. And I'll give you maybe 2 minutes to do that. Anybody have any questions? Anybody got any good jokes? What I want to point out is you might want to think about using negative space to your advantage. The next one, we're going to do one, you're going to take the other sheet of paper,
These images
and
that
you're
I
going to
did up
divide
here,
it while they are very busy. It could have a lot of what I would consider to be negative space from the central object. Negative space, if anybody doesn't understand, is like there's a door over there and everything else around it is a big wall. And the white area would be our negative space. And then I want you to block in at least 2 values, so try to press down a little bit and get a little bit dark color, and then maybe a middle value on that. How's that going for y'all? Just press down a little bit harder on the pencil and do a little bit more shading. So remember back when we were coloring in kindergarten? And you press on really hard sometimes and you break the crayon, that's a lot of pressure. That'll give us a lot more contrast. And then when you leave the space blank or white, and then you have negative space. So when we add contrast and value to our paintings, it adds a little bit of definition and color. Or in this case, maybe black and white if you're using a pencil at home. I can see from here that some people have really got this going on. How's this side doing? Y'all are quiet. Y'all are usually very talkative. I saw y'all at the Christmas party. I watched you. I took names and stuff there. All right. All right, let's move on. I have an example of a quick draw value study up here. This is actually a monotype that I hand painted on glass, but for the sake of an example, I've got my man here. It's not the best work that I've ever done, and neither should this be of yours. This is how we learn. We learn about value. We learn about composition. With that in mind, did anybody leave any negative space? Raise your hand. Raise your hand higher so everybody else can see. We want to know who left negative space. They get A+. All right. Thank you. Did you include any highlights? Anybody? That would be on the lighter side. Highlights usually go last. And did anybody do any other mark making other than just shading? Raise your hand. Anybody? Okay, perfect. How are y'all liking this? Is this fun or y'all are too quiet? I heard something. I heard something. I couldn't hear it. All right. Let's move on to the next one. The next quick draw is called Plenty of Fish in the Sea. So y'all have already divided your sheet in half. And what we're going to do next, again, you're still on vacation, but you saw a school of fish. So on this one, we're only going to be using the right side of the page. We're going to be using the speed drawing technique to quickly draw an image of a school of fish and include a background and a foreground. To make this easier and faster, quick draw, like maybe make it a 3x3 little block or 4x4, a school of fish. I want y'all to really be creative and think about perspective. How close are you to that body of fish? Are you looking at a moray eel this close? Are you looking at a whole body of fish, or do you only see the tails that just swam by very fast? Think about mark making. Mark making is very important in our creative body of works. If you're painting a dress and the woman's wearing all white, it needs to have a little bit of shadow for the folds. It needs to have some swirls for pattern to add some interest other than just a white dress. I mean, it needs to have some interest to capture the viewer. If anybody familiar with Mary White's watercolors, she just wrote a book. It's out now. City Art just had her during Vista Lights, and she's stunning watercolor, and the use of many colors, just like the French Impressionist that she puts in her work, is gorgeous. So I see some people looking up here. I wonder if they've got that body of fish done yet. Oh, so I have to come stand over y'all's shoulders. What do y'all like working on? What kind of things do you all paint? Watercolor, acrylic? Oil people, raise your hand. Watercolor people, raise your hand. Acrylic people, raise your hand. More acrylic painters than anything else. A pastel people? Okay, 3 or 4. We got some photographers over at this table. Any digital people in here? Anybody doing digital work? Anybody doing any computer design, graphic design? No? 1? Very good, very good. All right. Let's flip to the next slide. I don't know if that's right. Yep. Yep. So up on the screen, I have a school of fish, which is a really interesting school of fish from a different perspective. I like it. To me, it's very African inspired. I don't know where this artist is from, but the process is called Zentangles. Has anybody in here doing Zentangle? You did the turtle? Did you do the turtle for Chapin? That was amazing. Anybody other than Lisa doing? Oh, wonderful. Anybody else? Okay. It's a really neat process, and I think we can learn a lot from it and look at different ways to get shading in by creating patterns. And normally a Zentangle is a process that kind of frees us up to create beautiful unplanned images, working on focus, and probably very meditative is what it says up here, thus the word Zentangle. But I really look at that and I like it. I like the way the lines and everything just create different shadows in that. So, all right. Teamwork makes the dream work. So there are a couple people in the guild that helped me on the mural, and some people didn't do exactly the part that they wanted because of other things that came up in life. However, what they did sometimes is the most important part. And so thank you to everybody that helped me with that. Thank you to the people that came to look at that. This is the mural on the Shack restaurant building down here. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for gracing me to be able to go through the exercises. I hope you found it fun, and have a good night.